ain't meaty man slapping me.
Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps, is I, your host of the most Renaissance man, who always thinks he can, and champion of the peeps, Patty Pitt's back yet again in the yard streams for another edition of the Raw Rewind, part of Pitts and Sara's wrestling show, where we take no nights off. Okay, and as I said, it's Raw Rewind. Can't do it without the best of the West. You can't forget about Sara Marshall. What's poppin', girl?
Hey, yo.
Hello. Hello.
Yo to all our peeps. What's going on, Sara? How we doing?
Well, we're doing swell, you
I
know?
love how you match my energy there. That was a very good matching of energies.
Swell.
Because we're
I never know.
excited. I don't know why. I don't know.
No,
why.
I'm excited about certain things that I want to talk about.
I am as well.
My man.
And just last night I got sad. You know, I was obviously sad by the news.
Oh.
No, I was unlike you.
I wasn't happy. I just like.
I feel like you and Drew McIntyre had the same type of vibe going on.
Yeah, I would in front of the grave. Bye. That would be me. That's why I made that the photo. What is it called? When you for the video.
Oh no! Oh, it's annoying.
You know
I know what
it
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I put that as the image. What's it called? Oh wait. Thumbnail. There we go. Golly. The picture of Drew in front of CM Punk's grave, and then next to that is the picture of him watching after he beat him up. That's the picture for Thursday show. So shout out to Drew.
Shout out to Drew for promoting whatever. I like
being
that.
Being a mood.
Yeah, to one of us. All right. Like I was really sad. I'm not gonna lie, Sara. I was pretty upset.
Did you start crying?
I will not deny or confirm if a tear was shed, but we definitely weren't bawling. I will say that.
But this is the thing. Given where we're at right now, I feel like it's almost guaranteed Punk is going to appear at Mania. So at least you should be able to hear the song. You should be able to see him something. Like I'm sure that he won't be able to wrestle, obviously, but which might not be a bad thing either.
It might not be every time.
But I can't imagine that they won't have him at least appear. You know what I mean? Like I would assume he'll be there in some capacity.
I hope so. I was so sad.
Yeah.
But like things are going well. Like as you know, just kind of jumping soft launching into it right now.
Mm-hmm.
The show is pretty good. All in all. It feels like it was very different and flowing in the right direction.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people had a positive reaction to it last night, which is like different, I think, when it's like a universal high ranking of how the show was. When you keep seeing everyone say it was like a 9 to 10, a 9 to 10, it's like, oh, okay. I'm kind of surprised that so many people are saying that, because usually you'll see someone who's like, oh my god, that was a 9, and then someme's like, that was a 3, and you're like, what? Like what show were we watching? Yeah, I'm like, that's a big difference. So the fact that people seemed pretty content with it overall, it's like, okay, then yeah, it was a good show then, or it must have been.
I liked it because it was a lot of, and we'll kind of touch on it, but it didn't feel stagnant. There were a lot of different aspects of the show that made it feel more engaging.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it made it feel like you were watching the show with the time not as a factor. You really weren't, thinking of, oh, I mean, how long has it been? Oh, it's kind of dragging. No, things flowed really well. And I kind of forgot about this until I I didn't really let it sink in until the second time I watched it.
Mhm.
There were 2 title matches last night.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
pretty insane.
And as Richard said, it got 1.9 million viewers, which was the highest since June of last year, and the highest segment was 2.13. So
Ooh, what was the highest segment?
I don't know what the highest segment
We'll
was.
have
Maybe
to
Richard
figure
can tell us.
Dickie,
But
you
I
can
know
figure
they
that out.
said that the viewership overall, the 1.9 or whatever, was the highest since June of last year. So Triple H knows what's up, you know. But I mean, I
Drop a
feel
ball,
like
no ball.
it's kind of just how it is, because I think that a lot of Raws after a big pay-per-view like that, maybe more specifically after the big 4, they're going to have
Gotcha.
like, a bigger audience, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I'm sure that plays. Oh, it was Cody talking to Seth. Interesting.
And it's very interesting.
Okay, let's
Very
just
interesting.
do it, because then I want to, I want to get to.
Oh.
Okay, stop. That's also like one of the worst. Him and Logan Paul. I don't know.
Alright, I'll give you Logan Paul sucks. You
That's
cannot sit
bad.
here and tell me Pat
No
McAfee
one
sucks.
when it's like, hey,
Let's
let's go. It's like who? No, he
go.
doesn't have an identifiable voice enough to me to be able. Like people are always like, huh? Because it sounds like someone's on the mic every time. It is always like, who's saying
It's
who?
introducing. And then it's
No,
I love it.
no,
I'm
it's
all
bad.
in.
It's bad. It's
Okay.
bad. Stop it.
Mm,
It's bad.
mm.
Oh yeah, that's right. We don't. Raw doesn't have to compete with football. I forgot.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
didn't have
other
football on
thing.
my screen last night either, so
Anyway, sorry, I was reading what Richard said. So we
Raw.
start off Raw with Cole, which you didn't see the desk. So I think most people were like, oh, who's it gonna be? Because of all the commentary changes that we assumed were coming. And Pat McAfee is introduced, and then that's when Cole lets us know that moving forward, probably until September or August, is what he really means. Pat McAfee will be on commentary with him, which means Wade Barrett is kicked off Raw. And according to Dirt Sheets, they're saying that Wade Barrett is moving to SmackDown to be alongside Corey Graves. However, conflicting reports about who is going to do what. Some people are saying that Graves is going to be doing play-by-play. Others saying that he's going to do color commentary. I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait and find out. I think most people with a brain assume that it's going to be Graves that does
Yeah.
play-by-play, just given the fact that he's been doing this longer than Wade. But my initial reaction to Pat McAfee being back, it's whatever. I wasn't thrilled because I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It was just a couple weeks ago where I was saying it again that I love Wade and Cole together. So I'm kind of bummed about that. But obviously Pat and Cole have good chemistry and whatever. So I can't complain about that.
I love it so much because Pat McAfee is the closest thing that this wrestling generation has to a JR and King. Where King was great for commentary in some regards, but the best aspect of his commentary was just his reactions and, shenanigans that he'd say.
Mhm.
And I mean, you can't really go on USA Network today and start screaming puppies and
Yeah.
that type of stuff. So your next best bet is a guy with that similar type of vibe and energy. And Pat McAfee brings it because he's more engaging with the wrestlers. Like he's commentating on the situation itself with, kind of improv comedy type of banter, which is perfect to build a buddy relationship with, Cole. And that's why that's why their banter is second to none.
Well, and I think the part that makes his commentary stand out, and sometimes it's not always for the better to stand out. I think it just depends on the moment. Where he has said that he doesn't know what's going to happen on the show. Like he doesn't want to know
Love
like the
that.
results of matches and stuff like that. So that genuine reaction is obviously something that sets him apart from other commentators, because others would want to be prepared for like, okay, what's going to happen, or just so that they can kind of have an idea of something to say, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I wouldn't say that that's always a good thing when it comes to McAfee, because I think sometimes it's like there are moments where you might need to be a little bit more prepared, because it's like a natural reaction might make you speechless, but you're on commentary. You can't be speechless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the reason I say also that this is only going to be till August or September, because I assume he still has commitments to
He
college
doesn't.
football. He doesn't to college
Nope.
football? Oh,
Nope.
interesting.
I
Well,
do
I'm
not
just
think he's
waiting to
gonna
see when the next opportunity arises and he decides to dip out again. So
Yeah, I don't think he's there anymore. I truly believe that he is going to stick in this role because he's got his show. He's not. I mean, he's already with ESPN technically. Maybe not game or not. Maybe not gaming, but he's not doing game day now. He has his show. He's got other stuff, and he loves the WWE. He loves being part of it. Eh, I could see this being a real full time gig that expands over to his show and
well,
actually helps his show.
I'm just speaking from what he's done before, where he was like, I'm here, it's a dream, blah, blah, blah. And then he left. So that's what I'm saying. I just really wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. That's all I'm saying. But the pairing of Wade and Corey on SmackDown, I think that has the potential to be fine. I think it's just going to take some getting used to, because I see a lot of people already are like, oh, I'm not sure how this is going to go. And I understand a little bit of the hesitancy, but I feel like we kind of need to see how it works for a bit first, because both are very good on commentary on their own. We haven't seen them working together, but I think they're going to be fine because they're both very charismatic. They're both naturally pretty funny. It will be interesting though, because they both have technically been the heel commentator. So someone's going to have to flip, and it's whoever the play-by-play is, which if we're thinking it's going to be Corey, then it's going to have to be Corey
I think
that
Corey could flip
takes on that
easily.
babyface role, which is going to be interesting because that's not something that really like comes natural for him, you know, like but
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting, and I think we need to just see how it plays out before we just immediately start saying, oh, this is going to be bad, you know.
I'm excited for this duo. I'm
Yeah.
like very interested to see how well they play off each other because they are two background heels,
Mm-hmm.
and they've done a stand-up job being the heel commentator, the devil's advocate, we'll say. Now that you have them both on SmackDown and, Corey going into this role, why not have, kind of good cop or good cop, bad cop, but it's just like bad cop, less bad cop. You know what I mean? Like a little.
That's not a bad idea, because technically if you look at McAfee and Cole, they're like the same too. There isn't one guy that's like, yay, bad guy, and the other one's like, yay, good guy. It's like they both are kind of on the same page, like, so it wouldn't be a bad thing, I feel like, if they did the opposite on SmackDown. Because I mean, it's not like Graves or Barrett are both celebrating, like, McIntyre jumping Sammy or something. You know what I mean? Like, they're not both like, yeah. It's like maybe they are, but it's like I feel like that needs to be a difference. Like, there needs to be a little bit more of a balance. Like, if you're going to go with these two guys on Raw, then have them be the opposite on SmackDown, so that it's kind of a little bit more interesting, especially when they're going with two guys that have never been the lead. Like, it's always been like Michael Cole or like Jerry Lawler or whoever the stand-in guy for play-by-play is, which has been like a bunch of people that they've tried to find over the years. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that Barrett's not completely off, because I just thought he's been doing so good that when I initially saw he wasn't on Raw, I was like, no. So
It was sad.
yeah, so I'm hoping it works out on SmackDown, because I would be really bummed if it didn't. I'm sorry. Corey needs a sidekick, but Wade's a grown-ass man. True. But yeah. Anyway, so moving on to the start of Raw, which we kind of already knew was going to happen because news broke that CM Punk had torn his tricep on Saturday in the Royal Rumble match. And I had to go back and watch because I missed it. Because people were like, oh
I
yeah, it
didn't
was
see
like
it.
this. It
Yeah.
happened when he took a
The
DDT from
DDT.
McIntyre,
yeah.
and they were like, he rolled out of the ring, which I was like, okay. And then when I watched it, I was like, he did not roll out. He rolled to the corner. But then after that, obviously, I was like, okay, it looks like, yeah, you can tell that he hurt himself. So he came out in a sling and an arm wrapped up, which, mind you, did you catch this too? Unless I'm crazy, I am 99% positive he hurt his left arm. He came out in a sling on his right arm. Anyone else catch that?
I think I think you're
You think I'm
putting
crazy?
on a little bit.
Why? You really think they would let McIntyre stomp the shit out of his messed up arm? I'm
Oh.
saying I'm pretty sure in the
Oh.
Rumble he hurt his left arm.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And he came out in a
Oh.
sling in his right arm because he never
So
said, like,
they
yeah, so they put
they
it on the
never
opposite
because
arm
they
so
never
that
said what
right.
arm he did it so that oh, that's
Yeah.
smart.
And the reason I believe it's
Sorry
his
for calling you
left,
crazy.
yeah, I was gonna say
Sorry
the
about
reason I
that.
believe it's
That
his
was
left is just from rewatching when it happened in the Rumble match. Um, there's many moments where he's not using his left arm like at all. Like when he picked up Drew, and there's other things that he did. I think even when he did the GTS, like he's just like not using his left arm. So I assume it's his left, but he came out with his right. Okay. Oh, he
what?
said he tore it to the bone. But still, I'm just curious. I mean, I'm sure it still hurts, but I just assumed that yeah, I just assumed that they did it opposite. But that's why I was just trying to see if anyone else caught that, cuz from when rewatching the Rumble moment, I'm almost positive it was left. They sold
And it
the right
makes
arm.
sense why it makes sense why they would have him come out on the other arm because
Yeah,
he
because the
stopped the I
well
was like,
that's the thing is like I get like what Richard's saying that you can't hurt it anymore, but that doesn't mean it doesn't fucking hurt to be
yeah,
stomped on. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can't
with
do more
or with an
damage, but
already torn,
yeah,
yeah.
I can't imagine Punk's like, yeah, stomp the shit out of it. It's fine. Like, no, like even if you can't mess it up anymore, it's still gonna hurt like a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway,
I'm
so I don't know. I just had to mention that because I was like, I didn't see anyone else really talking about it.
I
But
didn't put
anyway,
two and two together.
yeah. Anyway, so CM Punk comes out in a sling, like I say, with his arm wrapped up, and that was when he officially reveals that he tore his tricep during the Rumble match. And unfortunately, he will have to miss WrestleMania this year because when I Googled it, I think it can take 4 to 6 months to heal. So this
Yep,
stuff
it can.
it's bizarre to me. Like everything that is happening right now with like these injuries and like it's almost weird. So we'll get into this at the end when I finish all of the Punk's part at least, because I have a question for you. So I was talking about this earlier with a friend of mine who's a big Punk fan.
Mhm.
So when he's discussing the injury, he said he doesn't believe in luck, but when it comes to this, he just feels very unlucky that this happened because even though he lost the Rumble, he had every intention of going on to the Elimination Chamber if that was what it was, winning the Elimination Chamber so he could go on to main event WrestleMania. He tells the fans to not feel bad for him because people have it way worse. And this is when he got me a little bit. I was like, Punk, don't make me feel
Don't
bad
do
for
that.
you.
Don't do
Don't
that.
don't do that. So he mentions his friend Chad who has cancer, and then he starts like crying, and I'm like, don't do this because I'm not supposed to like have any sort of feelings for you, Punk. I'm not supposed to feel
It's
bad.
tough, isn't it? It's tough,
Um
isn't it?
but this is the thing, right? So okay, so he says his friend has cancer, and he goes and he sits with him during like every chemo treatment, and he's always happy, like it doesn't matter what he's going through, like he's in a good spirits. And so tearing his tricep compared to things like that other people are going through, he's like, don't feel bad for me, like I'm gonna be fine. And so in that moment too, I really feel like until Drew came out, obviously, this was probably like one of his better promos in a while. And I say that because uh this was like a human side to Punk that you don't really get to see. And
Mhm.
so I feel like, I've said that I feel that he had to have kind of turned a leaf or has to have some sort of change because in order for him to be able to come back into the company and for the company to welcome him back, like there had to have been some sort of shift, because you don't go on for 10 years, suing the company, alleging they were trying to kill you, talking crap about everybody from top to bottom. And then you get fired from your company that you just went back to. And then you come back with that same attitude. Like it can't work. And so I feel this was like a good moment, regardless of the circumstances. It was good to see, to see Phil. You know what I mean? Like, because
Oh,
it
we
is like
saw Phil.
it's like
We
a
saw
humbling
Phil.
experience for him, I feel like, too. And it's one of those things, obviously, like people can relate to it when you finally accomplish something or you get something you want and you're riding on a high, and it all comes crashing down immediately, and it like your dream gets taken away from you like that. And it's like, obviously he's accomplished a lot in his career, so it's not like this is the most devastating thing to ever happen to him. It's the timing sucks, but the fact that he was able to like get emotional like that, I think, on live television, commercial-free television, that's a side we've never seen from Punk before, because he's always been very like tough and like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to, it's
So,
like he has
I know
like,
exactly what you mean.
yeah.
No, this is the first time I even felt like I was seeing a different side of Punk. I was
Mm-hmm.
watching this, and the way he was looking at the WrestleMania sign, the way he was delivering his promo,
Mm-hmm.
you could see that he was genuinely not pissed off, but disappointed and heartbroken. You could
Yeah.
you could tell that all he wanted to do, even if he didn't main event WrestleMania this year, he wanted to face Seth Rollins, and he wanted to at least compete for the World Heavyweight Championship. And now that he can't, and it has nothing to do with what he did,
Mm-hmm.
antics backstage, right? But it's just an unfortunate situation. It hurts even more because of it.
Yeah. And I like that he does go on to say, being the best in the world does not always mean that he wins, which I thought that was cool, because that's
That
another
was a good
thing. Like,
line.
it's like it's kind of like the never give up thing with
Mhm.
Cena. It's like you don't always like win, you know what I mean? So
No,
it's
you
like
don't always
sometimes you
win.
just have to you get back up. And so I've liked that. And the fact that he then made fun of himself about the UFC,
Oh my
which
god,
was
that was iconic.
that was great, but then it also made a good point where it's like, did you see me fight in UFC? Because like I did it because the opportunity presented itself and I wanted to do it. And even though it scared the crap out of me, I did it because it was a dream. I wanted to do it. And it's like, yeah, so it's kind of like telling you, like, don't, you're like, your dreams might scare you, or an opportunity that comes to you might scare you, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. So I thought that was pretty cool, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that he was saying, like I said, I feel like it was some of the best stuff that he's done in a while. So I appreciate it. And like I can give credit to people that I don't like. So I can do that.
I'm really
But he
happy
did say,
for you. I'm really
I've
happy
always,
for you, Sarah.
you know that I can do that. So this is not news to you. Stop it. So he says
Need a
that he will come back and fight his way to WrestleMania, because that is a dream that he's had since he was a kid. And that is when Drew McIntyre decided, you know what? I choose violence today on this Monday. And I was like, you
He
know what?
chose so much violence. So much violence. And
Drew
then start
McIntyre.
his Tuesday with some violence. I mean,
I
the violence
this
is continuing.
This man is a king. This man is on top of the world right now. The funniest part about it is like technically he should be like the top heel, and he's not. Like, even if you watch the main event last night, he's getting set up for the Claymore, and he does the 1, 2, 3. Everybody in the crowd is chanting with him, and I'm like, but you guys, what? You guys were just booing him and hating on him at the beginning of the show, and then 3 hours later, you're like, yeah. It's like, I don't
I would be throwing up
understand.
the 1, 2, 3. I
Yeah,
mean,
even though he
that's
just took your favorite out, but
I did, but that's the thing. That's the beauty of wrestling. It makes me
you're
forget. It's
like
like
short-term
you
memory. Within the span of 2 hours, I'm already forgetting.
I'm already from
Um,
3, 2, 1.
yeah. So Drew comes out, and I was like, "Hey, bae," and he said, I have said some terrible things about you in the past, and even though I meant every single one of them, and I still think that you are a poison, a cancer to our locker room, I kind of feel bad for you, but I also relate to what you're saying." And then he goes in and says how he's kind of been, on a journey recently, and he says, I don't know what I believe in. I went through some changes recently, and I have never been much of a spiritual person, but I want you to know that I prayed for this, and it happened. And
That hit like crack. That was the ending that hit like crack because that line was cold.
I targeted you. Then I heard the news and I slept like a baby. And I was like, Drew is bringing the heat, brother. I was obsessed. So he keeps going. And he says that he exorcised the demon CM Punk, and now he's going to have to find his way back to the main event at WrestleMania. He says, now I am going to find a way into the world title match at WrestleMania, and I'm going to go and main event, and I am going to live CM Punk's dream again. And then he goes and attacks Punk. He's just like, because Punk was like, when I come back, I'm going straight after you. And Drew's like, I don't whatever. And then he goes after Punk, goes after his arm. Sammy ends up coming out. They end up announcing that they will be in a match later. But okay.
He was stomping on his arm.
As I'm going to say this every single week. This is going to be the new your line about the bloodline story is the best story in wrestling. Drew McIntyre is doing the best work of his career right now. And I feel like it's so underappreciated. It's like people aren't recognizing like how good this actually is, and I don't know why. I feel like this was a good move for them to try and get more heat on Drew. And even if it didn't work for a full 3 hours, him going toe to toe, face to face with Punk and like pulling the whole Santos Escobar, I hope your leg is amputated type of thing.
Yeah, it was
like
pretty close to it.
It was just a good move, I feel like. And this is something that I was talking about with a friend of mine at work. Like I said, who is a big CM Punk fan and is sad about this happening, right? But then he also sees it as kind of like a blessing in disguise for everybody. Because the redemption arc for Punk is going to be so much more worth it. It's almost like how upset people were about Cody not winning last year. It's going to be so much better when he beats Roman this year. And it seems like this is going to be similar for Punk. Like, it would be cool if he won the Rumble or he won the Elimination Chamber and then got to main event Mania against Seth Rollins, like that when he came back, right? But like, how much more satisfying is it going to be for his fans that he lost the Rumble, first of all? So that was like, okay, where are they going to go from here? Then he gets injured, has to miss Mania. Then he's going to come back and just like wreak havoc on everybody, right? Then he's going to have to go into the Rumble, have to try to win the Rumble, and then, then he can choose to like be the main event, because it doesn't have to be Seth Rollins, whoever the champion is. But like, to me, it seems like it's the same situation as Cody. Like, it's going to be worth the wait. Do you agree or no?
Oh, I do. I do agree that it's worth the wait. And I agree that it's a blessing in disguise because of how good Drew's work has been right now. We've talked on the show already about how Drew should be fighting Seth and he should finish his own story in a way at this year's Mania, because he didn't get that moment in 2020 where he got to celebrate his championship win after winning the Royal Rumble in front of a crowd. He essentially, I mean, him and I have the same amount of fans, live fans, I mean, in my basement than I did when he was winning the championship. So that's sad. And that's sad for a different reason. Now, this year, I feel is a lot of, cliche, but finishing stories. And when you finish stories, you begin new ones, and that's why I don't really like, I mean, for Cody, it's a little different, but for everyone else, finish your story.
Yeah.
It's just because it's not that it's finish your story. It's, finish this chapter. And, I don't think Drew got to really finish the chapter because it was It was one way when it started, when he won the Rumble, when it was in front of fans.
Yeah.
And now he's gotta make it, now in front of fans and finally complete that. I like it.
Yeah, I think, it's like when we were saying if Seth's injury forced him to vacate the title. Like it was like a blessing, right? Like it was like, okay, because people are ready to move on for the most part from Seth as champion, and not that you would ever pray for anybody to ever be injured, especially seriously. It felt like, okay, the timing, right? And then he says he's not going to do it. Then it happens to Punk literally less than a week later, and you're like, okay, well, now that we know that he is going to be missing Mania, it's like that is such a big cog removed from the machine to get Drew to the top.
No, it is.
And it feels like there's no reason for this to not happen this year. Like, to me, like, and it doesn't even have to be Seth versus Drew alone, because people might have an argument where, okay, we've already seen that twice, 2 world heavyweight title chances and he didn't win. Make it a triple threat. Throw Sammy in, throw Jay in, like throw somebody that Drew hates in there, right? So it's like,
throw a cash in.
I don't want to cash in on Drew though.
Oh, I do.
You want him to be cashed in on by you want Drew to win at Mania and then have his Mania moment taken away in 10 seconds? Okay, we're not getting into that right now.
Oh, that would imagine.
But I'm just
that'd be so
all
sweet.
I'm saying is it feels like this was meant, like this was it was like the universe knew that this was going to happen. It just has to be that Triple H goes through with what he's doing, because you cannot have Drew in this position doing as great as he is right now and don't reward it. You know what I mean? There's no one else in a better position to take that title away from Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. So, yeah. Before we move on, we have comments? I saw Richard was saying a lot and people were like, you had made good comments. So I don't know. I can't.
I saw this earlier. He did not kind of main event. That was like, I wouldn't say it's a main event against The Undertaker, but a big match. Trying to see if there's anything.
Kind of crazy to think about an Undertaker match not main eventing, but
true. Due to injury, I could see Drew and Sammy taking Punk's Mania spot, have Seth defending a triple threat. Drew, Sammy want the title, but Sammy also wants to make Drew pay for injuring him. So there you go. There's another connector.
That's like, yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like, throw Sammy in there or something, and then that's a triple threat for the title. I think that would be sick. No, I don't want that.
No, Sarah. If he wins, he's gonna win.
But you don't know that because they're still saying that he hasn't re-signed a contract yet. So if they do that, then that means like he's leaving.
That's Punk Money in the Bank-esque if he does that.
No,
he signs a contract like day of WrestleMania. That'd be lit.
That would be, because no one would know. But I wouldn't. My sister would be like on the verge of.
That Drew promo.
Yeah, Drew is phenomenal, dude. He was so good.
His best work. I agree. We're a 3-man band.
Or when Heath Slater was like, I'm a 1-man band. I was like, shut up.
The 1-man band, baby. Oh, I love it. The only person enjoying the injury is Ryback.
True, but he also was supposed to retire. He was supposed to retire because Punk
hypocrite.
So,
yeah, Ryback. I'm calling you out. All right.
Well,
I'm calling out Ryback.
Yeah.
What? What do you mean?
Okay.
I'm saying he's a hypocrite. All right.
No, I know.
We pride ourselves on not being hypocrites. He is a hypocrite. I'm calling him out for his bullshit.
All right.
If he let's be real, Sarah. Do you think Ryback really gonna respond to us?
No.
He probably doesn't even know who we are with that peanut up in his head of his. All right, moving on.
All right.
Let's go.
DIY versus Judgment Day. Before that, we get another DIY backstage promo, which I love. This time they both talked, which I thought was cool. And I'm just enjoying these like walk up to gorilla promos. I appreciate it. It was a good match. These are one of those things that, again, like I just don't have much to say. It was a great match. It was a long match. I feel like they've done a really good job at building up DIY, and the crowd is like super behind them. And obviously, this was a testament to how well these guys can perform because it was during the first hour that had no commercials. So there was no way that they could just like, oh, it's a commercial. We can kind of like slow down or chill out or, whatever. But this is also, to me, it was a reminder that I'm very glad that Judgment Day won, but still, I feel like we need to split the tag titles.
Yeah, we do.
But how do you think that's going to happen? Like, do you think, like, how are they going to split the titles? And do you think it's going to happen before or after Mania?
After Mania.
But how are they
It'll be
going to do
after
it? Like,
Mania.
how are they going to split the titles? Like, how do
It's
you?
going. I don't want to try to play, Booker here because we know when I do that, I'm terrible at it. But all I can really see right now is after Mania, they get more serious with the brands, with Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce being like, well, I want my show to have a tag team champion.
Yeah.
No, I want my show to have a tag team champion. And they'll work like that'll be the beginning of like finalizing their rosters. You know what I mean? Like really getting their shows together. And it will be like, all right, well, there's only one way to settle it. I'm gonna make new tag team. They'll make like a new tag team tournament or something. And then either Judgment Day's in it or they have to defend, whatever. But it'll be basically them, the two GMs wanting a tag team on their show, and Judgment Day saying, well, we already run Raw, so you can have your SmackDown ones. That's what I think.
Yeah. No, that was what I was going to say. I would assume it would be something where Nick Aldis is like, hey, we got great tag teams over here on SmackDown that would love to be able to have a chance, but obviously they can't. Well, they could, but they don't expect Judgment Day to be doing both shows every single week. And I don't even we don't even know the last time they were on SmackDown.
Good point.
I do think that that's the way that they should go. And it makes sense after Mania, since that's probably when they'll have the draft anyway. So, then do it then, And then after the match, we see Damian Priest calls out R-Truth. Judgment Day is in the ring, minus Rhea, of course. He calls out R-Truth, and R-Truth is hesitant. So he's like, no, like, you can come in. Like, I promise I'm not gonna attack you. And he's just trying to talk to Truth, but Truth keeps interrupting him, talking about crypto and liquidating his assets and whatever. And Damian is like, we're like family, Judgment Day is family. And Truth interrupts again and is like, yeah, Damian DP, you're like my big brother. And it's like, oh my god, okay,
you're older than me.
Yeah, Finn is like that weird uncle, like you love him, but he's just like kind of off and being. And I was like, you can't. No, Finn is not like the weird uncle. That's so rude. He says everybody knows Tom and Nick, and JD is like the step brother that nobody wants to admit is actually family.
Do you know how long it took me to figure out the Tom and Nick?
Yeah, that's sad. I don't want to know.
Like, couple days recent.
Yeah, I've told you about it, but you weren't listening to me because we've talked about it.
It's brilliant. That's what I'm just gonna leave it at. It's brilliant.
So Priest then says, we like you. You need to let us talk, and I really think that you're funny, but that's why I can't be the one to do this. And that is when the rest of Judgment Day jump R-Truth. Miz then comes out to try and help, but then they take him down too. And my assumption from this is Awesome Truth is probably going to end up taking the titles, aren't they?
I did have that thought. And I'm not. I'm kind of with you, Sarah. I'm not thrilled with it. I would like to see either Imperium take him down and then DIY be their first challengers because they still have some weird unfinished business. But goddamn, if R-Truth is the one to dethrone Judgment Day, how unbelievable would that be?
I feel like it just has to be that, just from what we've seen. But just because I don't know how, like, what was the point of putting Truth into Judgment Day if there was no like end game? Like he can't just be like, okay, he's done with Judgment Day and that's the end of the story, right? Like there has to be something. And the ultimate way to like get him to be the winner would be to take the titles off of them. You know what I mean? Like, And I guess for nostalgia purposes, why not have it be the awesome truth? Like,
And it's the best way to get Miz back as a face. Because
yeah,
how can you hate anyone that aligns himself with our truth? You just can't.
yeah, yeah.
So I like that.
So I wanted to talk about this briefly too. There are a few noticeable changes. People were kind of talking about it and wanted to be like, "Oh, what did you notice is kind of different about Raw and SmackDown this year?" And I think most of them are pretty minor, but I feel like there's a few things that stood out
Mhm.
specifically on this Raw that I kind of wanted to talk about. And the one thing is, which I already mentioned with DIY, is more of those like backstage promos, which I'm really excited about because I feel, I don't know, that just kind of gives you like an old school vibe
It
that I
does.
like.
It
So I like
really
that.
does.
And then we have Jackie doing more backstage interviews, and then she's also not doing the awkward like trying to act afterwards that most of the backstage interviewers do when the person walks away or whatever, and is just like, she's not doing
Mhm.
that. She's like, all right, Cole, it seems like blah blah blah, like back to you. So notice that. And I think that there's just been like a lot more interviews, also less weird camera cuts so far.
No, the camera cuts have been awesome, and the new camera additions, how we're getting more in the ring camera
Yeah,
views.
yeah,
I love that. Feed me into the action.
yeah. Then there's also the like facts. When someone comes out, there's like a little fact there, but I thought it was sad because I think it was when when Drew came out, I think his was like, was eliminated from the Royal Rumble by CM Punk. I was like, that is such a mean,
That
that
is
is
a
such a,
terrible
that's
fact.
a Matt
That's
fact circa
that is a bad Matt
2005.
fact.
Yeah. Um, but the one thing that I would say that I wish that they would do more of, and I think, I mean, I get it, they're trying to go with like the minimalistic setup, but I really do miss like like Titantrons. Like I miss entrance videos. That's
I
not
miss them.
just their name. Like I love, I just, that was just always exciting. Like I really like the gigantic screens that they have now. I really like that instead of like, the mounted one or whatever.
Mhm.
I just miss that, people having like individual videos that kind of gave you more of a feeling of who they were or their
Yeah,
character.
yeah, it actually gave you a little insight of who they are
Yeah.
as Carlito or as Karrion Kross or whatever,
Mhm.
Mankind, if we're gonna throw it old school, like, you don't have that anymore, just name and then you gotta be there to see them.
Yeah. And I think that's something that some people have said too, is like the music is not as
Mhm.
good. And that was why people were like, the Royal Rumble wasn't as great because you couldn't identify people because the music sounds so generic.
Even Seth
Um,
struggled.
Struggled what? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about this really quickly, and that these couple matches, because you guys always want us to talk about everything, but Chelsea Green and Piper versus Shayna and Zoe. Basically, I would say the reason for this match is because they're trying to build up Shayna and Zoe as a tag team. That's really the only reason,
That's
because
really it.
they shouldn't have been able to squash Chelsea and Piper in like 2 minutes. But um good for them if that's what they're trying to do. I mean, it's really crazy to me that Zoe was on TV every single week in one of the hottest women's rivalries with Trish Stratus and Becky, and now she's like not even on TV. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
We also saw the Kabuki Warriors versus Natalya and Tegan Knox, which it was fine. Obviously, we were trying to see the women's tag team champions on Raw, which we're seeing on Raw and SmackDown, which is great. I love that with Asuka and Kyrie. And then there was the added like, oh, what's gonna go happen with Natalya and Tegan, because Tegan eliminated Natalya on in the Royal Rumble. And Mr. Anderson is correct. We get Chelsea Green
I was
back.
gonna bring
That
this
was,
up. I was gonna bring this up. Thank God
I know.
that it's back. Do you think she said something?
I I don't I don't know if she said something. I think because of dirt sheets and stuff like that, everyone caught wind of it, and then um people were asking her, on Twitter. Like I saw her respond to somebody that was like, why did you change it and whatever, and she was like, it wasn't up to me, like trust me, it wasn't my decision, blah blah blah,
Mhm.
it's out of my hands. And so I think that they weren't really expecting that amount of backlash over something
I
as simple as, you know, an introduction or something. But it's like, no, but that's why people love Samantha.
And that's why people love wrestling. Wrestling fans, even though we talk about, oh, they're fickle all the time and, you know, they never agree.
Mm-hmm.
When they see something that is different and hits, you know what I mean? It
Mhm.
makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
they're all in. They bought in. They're living the gimmick with them, whatever cliche you want to use. As
Yeah.
soon as you take that away, they notice. They're
Mm-hmm.
very keen observers, wrestling fans. And you can't go back on something that they already have attached themselves to. Because if you do go back on it, you're going to get a little kid asking why he can't play with his toy and it's in front of him.
Well, and the other thing is like one of the good things about wrestling and social media is like everything that happens in professional wrestling basically is based off of the fans' reaction. So if they're trying to introduce something new and the fans don't like it, you can voice that you don't like it.
Mhm.
Or by doing nothing, you're voicing that you don't like it. And then you have social media where all day long and actively during the show, you can tweet out your thoughts. So the people that work in WWE, they hear it, they see it, and they're able to then be like, oh, okay, let me rethink this. Or maybe that was a bad choice or whatever. So I feel like they probably just thought that no one was really going to notice or no one was really going to care about Samantha just like going back to a generic introduction of Chelsea. And then when they saw that it was like a big deal, it took them a bit. Obviously, it took a couple weeks for them to let her get back to saying it. But I'm like, this is why you need to listen to the fans more often on certain things, because obviously you can't listen to them about everything. But something like this, like, I don't really understand why any executive or something would be so bothered by how she introduces someone to the point of telling her that she can't do it anymore.
So
That's
weird.
ridiculous. Very weird. Then we move on to another hot segment, which was Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes comes into the ring to talk about his Rumble win, but at first he asks Samantha to introduce him again because she introduced him as the 2023 and the 2024 Royal Rumble winner. And then this again, my guy, you need to stop with the crying stuff. You know why? Because it makes me want to cry. That's why. It's just because it makes me emotional too. No, that's what I'm saying.
No, that's fine. Okay.
I love the emotion from Cody, but it just like gets me to that point too. So that's why I hate it.
I really thought you were about to go on a tangent. I was about to lose it on you. I was like, you let this man have his tears.
No. So he says, you know, people come to WWE and it's kind of to be their escape from their lives, from their worries, whatever. But he says that it also applies to wrestlers as well. He says the last 48 hours of his life have been challenging. And he says Saturday, we will never know how much he needed us. And that was when I was like, Cody, stop it. Cody, you can't speak to me directly in the post press conference, okay? And then you come out and you say this, okay?
He's speaking to the peeps. He's really speaking to the peeps.
He really is. So then Seth Rollins interrupts him, which I was completely shocked because I was just like, what?
I was really shocked about this. I did not see this coming at all.
Me neither. But I think there's a reason for it, which we'll talk about. So we know the history between Seth and Cody isn't too great. They're not the, you know, best buddies. But Seth said he wanted to come out and congratulate him on winning the Royal Rumble, especially winning back to back. And he says, you know, we've developed a mutual respect here. So I just have to say to you, I don't think that you should challenge Roman at WrestleMania. And I was like, what is happening here? What? Okay. So he goes on to try and convince him why it would be a mistake to go after Roman again after challenging him last year from being the Rumble winner. And he says Roman isn't the guy anymore. He is. He says they've been together on this ride over the past year. They've been at every Raw, every single live show, every single live or premium live events. And Roman wasn't even the main event. Rollins was. And he said, as the defending world heavyweight champion, you know, I was there. I was doing everything. Roman never wanted to even show up. He'd wrestle every other week. Then it was once a month. Then it was every other month, every couple months. And we don't need Roman Reigns anymore. And I was like, this man is preaching to the IWC, honey. And he says to Cody, if you want the title that people who politic their way to the top have, or do you want the Dusty Rhodes title, the Workhorse Championship, the Blue Collar Championship, because that is the World Heavyweight title. And he says the decision is up to him, but he should strongly consider challenging Rollins at WrestleMania. And that's when Cody says, I have a lot of respect for you, Seth. I'm going to think about it. And I was like, okay. My initial thought to this was, don't do this. Do not do this. Okay, so my first thought is like, all right, this is fine because I mean, I guess officially Cody did not choose Roman, although we saw what happened after he won the Rumble and he basically did, but I guess it wasn't official. So I'm all for like adding some sort of like anticipation for us to hear what Cody has to say. But my immediate thought after that was, because of obviously the unplanned injury to CM Punk, this threw a wrench into Mania plans. And this was their way of being like, okay, let's do this because this gives us another week to try and think about what we want to do with the World Heavyweight title and what we're going to plan for Elimination Chamber, which then ultimately leads to Mania to be against Seth. That was my idea, because you kind of are not thinking about, okay, what's Seth going to do for WrestleMania? Like, you're not thinking about that now. You're thinking about like, oh, wait, will Cody actually choose this title over Roman? Like, you're not even focusing on the elephant in the room, which is like Seth has no Mania match now because Punk's out. That was what I thought, and I think that's kind of brilliant, and I'm okay with that. Because we also were saying we didn't love the idea of anyone having to make their decision as a Rumble winner like immediately on the Monday Night Raw afterwards. I don't love it, and it looks like they're not going to do that at least this year. So
I don't think they're going to do it for both, which we'll
I
get
know.
into.
I know. So that's what I mean. Like, I'm down with that.
I loved this because in wrestling now, a lot of things are pretty predictable, and this was very unpredictable. I did not expect to see Seth Rollins even at this Raw, let alone I didn't expect him to beg Cody to challenge him. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
not shocking that he's at Raw because it was in Tampa. It was in the same city, or like an
okay,
hour's
well,
drive away. That's the only reason. Yeah.
yeah, but I didn't expect him to make.
Yeah.
I mean, Liv
Oh,
Morgan
yeah.
was there. I would
Yeah.
rather see Liv Morgan than Seth Rollins. No offense, but one is healthy and can wrestle, and the other is injured.
Yeah.
So, to me, I like this because it had me engaged. You were engaged in what he was saying, and a lot of it blurred the lines with Seth and Roman, and how you'd be like, does he really hate Roman that much? And does he really believe all this, or is this kayfabe? I don't even care if he does. The fans believe it, and that's what it matters at the end of the day. Is that you're sitting there like, maybe he should wear or bring home the world heavyweight and truly make it the Dusty title. I have the complete opposite thoughts on it. I don't believe he should win that one.
No.
He should win the WWE because he should bring the WWE title to the Rhodes family. You know, I think that's the story we're on. But you need an alternative. Okay, if you look at every great movie, TV show, whatever, there's got to be an alternative that really sways your opinion. You know, you're battling with your demons, whatever. And this is just one of those instances.
Yeah, I think they know that they can't shift it from Roman. Like, you can't do that. Especially after especially after what Cody did after winning the Rumble. That's why I think even more that this had more to do with Punk's injury and like them trying to figure it out. And obviously a plan was probably in place already for them to have Punk Seth, but now trying to figure that out in less than 48 hours, what the new plan is, like that would be ridiculous. So I think that this was the best way to kind of go around that, because it was a really good segment. I would say, along with the beginning with Punk and Drew, like this was a very good segment as well. Had people very intrigued. And as Richard said, Cody's supposed to be on SmackDown. So one would assume that that's what it is. Nobody wants to see Cody win the world heavyweight. Like, as much as people want him to have a
A lot
singles
of
title,
comment
like the
saying they don't
title.
want.
Yeah, I saw that, but it has to be the WWE title. Like, that's all he's talked about, and that makes the most sense. So as much as we want to see the title happen for him, it has to be a specific title. Oops, sorry, I was trying to get rid of that.
We got $2 dono. Mr. My voice is a little shot, so bear with me. Mr. Anderson. Thank you for the $2 dono.
He says Seth looks like he's magically better, no injury. I think that this time he didn't have to try and sell it, so the knee brace is probably under his pants.
No, he didn't even sell it. We know he's injured.
Yeah, he's definitely injured. I think that he probably had pain meds, maybe got shut up a little bit, and then
cortisone.
And then probably had the knee brace on under his pants. I think that he had to sell it a little bit more than probably he really needed to when he first,
He was wobbling.
It's the same thing with like Punk or anybody that comes out with the arm injury. It's always like it looks way worse than it actually, is, because Punk hasn't even had surgery yet. So, and like I said, I think it was on the wrong arm. So, I think he's legitimately hurt, because if he wasn't, he definitely would not be okay with like sitting on the sideline right now.
No.
Yeah.
No, he would not.
Okay, then we move on to Andrade. Oh yeah, okay, sorry. Andrade is back, which we saw on the Royal Rumble, which was very exciting. So we got a recap of that. We see him backstage, and he is with Adam Pearce, and it looks like he is signing a contract to be a superstar on Raw. So we get that, but Nick Aldis runs he shows up randomly, and he is a little bit disappointed because, Adam Pearce, of course, is then bragging about how he has the hottest free agent signing to Raw. And Aldis says that he was a little sad because he didn't even get to present him with this hefty contract that he had ready to go for Andrade, but Andrade's just like, whatever.
Luck.
And then Aldis gets a phone call, and he abruptly leaves, and he says he has to go speak to Braun Breaker. So Braun Breaker might be going to SmackDown, but according to HBK, Braun still has unfinished stuff to handle in NXT. So
he does, though. The Heartbreak Kid makes a good point.
Yeah, no, he it's like you can't call Carmelo up right now. You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
No, you cannot.
I really wouldn't be surprised if this is something that doesn't happen until after Elimination Chamber or even after Mania.
I don't
have them finish it, because it does kind of feel like a reset. Like once Mania happens, it's like when the Super Bowl happens. It's like, okay, after that, it's like a new season, and that feels like what it is with WrestleMania. Like once WrestleMania comes and goes, then we're on to next season, and so that's like the perfect time. That's why they do the draft and they bring up new people. And that feels like that would be the best time to bring up a guy like Braun Breaker or Carmelo. So I assume that's what's going to happen. And Braun Breaker to SmackDown, sure. I don't care. I'm just not. Keep him away from Gunther, okay? Because all of you people out there saying that he should be the one to dethrone Gunther, stop.
Bring all the stars to the A show. That's all I'm saying. Bring all the stars to the A show. I was just talking about with my friends in the group chat. We were saying that SmackDown is clearly the A show.
Mr. Anderson says, will Andrade do better as a solo actor? Will he be a flop without Zelina Vega?
He'll be a fantastic solo act.
I think he'll be fine. I don't know if we're saying, is it because of his English? Is that what we're saying? I would assume he speaks fine English.
He's fine. He's a four.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. People were really excited. Like once they figured out who it was at the Rumble, because he came back with different music, I think.
It was different.
Okay.
I did not hear that.
And he had a mask. And then, of course, the only screens that were available for you to even be able to try and identify who was coming out was like the ones right behind their entrance. So it's like
on the floor.
Not everyone had a good eye shot of that. So once people figured out who it was, it seemed like people were really excited. So I think he'll be fine. I think it just depends on how they integrate him into a storyline and like who his first feud is. I mean, they kind of already hinted at something, which is not happening, obviously, because it was with Santos, but people were behind him even in the Rumble match. So I'm not concerned. And I mean, if anything, Zelina leaving the LWO to go back to being with Andrade, I don't think that's a bad idea because the LWO isn't really doing anything right now, especially her. She's not doing anything in the LWO. It's all about the guys. So if they needed to move her to Raw, I don't see anything wrong with that.
And it gives Raw another solo woman.
Yeah,
To be
I know.
part
I'm
of that
wondering,
title.
I'm wondering if Jade is going to go to Raw, but she wasn't on Raw, so that means she can show up on SmackDown. And if they're trying to tease her and Bianca, then she would have to go to SmackDown. But Nia's on Raw.
She's a free agent.
So
Oh, we know Nia's on Raw.
yeah,
We know.
yeah. Then we move on to Gunther versus Kofi Kingston for the Intercontinental Championship. And again, I don't know, guys. All I have to say is great match. And have you ever seen a match that had Gunther in the match that was bad? I don't think this man has ever put on a bad match. Hiccups.
No.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
He can literally work with anybody. With anybody, no matter how long they've been a wrestler or how short they've been a wrestler. It's just like there's nothing this man can't do. Every single match is great. I don't understand the people who think opposite of that. Because like I said, take your fandom out of it. You don't have to be a fan of Gunther to think he's a phenomenal wrestler.
He doesn't care if you're a fan of Gunther.
No, but he should care about me.
He loves you. You're fine. You're okay. He's talking about the plebs that are just talking shit about him, and he doesn't care about any of them.
Yeah, it's just me.
He's loyal to his peeps.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm loyal to you guys, okay? So
I'm more loyal to Gunther than Imperium, but that's a different story.
I love Imperium, so I'm loyal to all of them. So yeah, this was great. Great showing for Kofi too, because I think that people kind of forget, he gets lost into the silliness of the New Day, and he kind of gets relegated to being like a tag team wrestler, but this man was literally WWE champion. He's an accomplished singles wrestler. So I think this was a great opportunity for people to kind of be reminded of that. And this was great for both of them. I mean, you don't ever have to worry about Gunther putting on a good match. But like I said, this was a good refresher for anyone who maybe didn't feel like Kofi should have been in this match or shouldn't have been challenging him for the title. I don't know. But 5 stars. Okay, 5 stars. We can maybe talk about this on the Thursday show because we're already, we got a couple things
over. We're so over.
But yeah, I just want to talk about, well, maybe on Thursday, about what you think their plans are going to be for Gunther at WrestleMania, because that's a big question now. Then moving on, we said the Kabuki Warriors were on earlier, and all of Damage Control came out after that, led by Miss Bayley, who wanted to go out there and talk about her being the Miss Royal Rumble winner. And she talks about how people do not give her enough credit for what she's done in her career, but especially in forming Damage Control, because look at all of the gold that they hold. And she is going to add to that because she just won the Rumble, and she is going to add another women's title to the group. But that was when Rhea Ripley came out and she was like, honey. But before she can even get anything out, here comes the squash machine, and Nia just mauls her down, brings her to the ring, and then squashes her, okay, immediately. Which I was like, Nia, I get what you're trying to do, honey, but the problem is you had to attack her with her back turned in order for you to get a good hit on Rhea. So that kind of doesn't go in favor of you, but do your thing, girl, I guess. She then confronts Bayley and says, you better pick Io Sky to face at WrestleMania because Rhea's not going to make it. And then Bayley's like, okay, I'll make my decision on SmackDown. So,
Io's pissed.
Yeah, Io was not happy about that because the fact that she was like, Bayley was basically saying that she was going to reconsider choosing Rhea. Which that's the thing. We were saying she's going to choose Io. She's not going to choose Rhea. I'm more curious now how this is going to go down, because if they're really going to force her to choose on SmackDown instead of like waiting or whatever, I'm just curious how this is going to happen, because Damage Control is all kind of like happy-go-lucky right now. They're not at a point where Bayley is, even if it's not real, I'm just saying on the surface,
No.
how they're being presented, it's not
Okay,
like
yeah.
Bailey is like dealing with the bullying kind of stuff that she had been like weeks ago. It's like they're all like yay right now, so it doesn't really feel like they're at a point where they're trying to force her out like right now, and Bailey's not trying to leave right now. So I'm just curious how she's going to go about trying to justify, I guess, picking Io, if that's what she's going to do.
I agree. I do have to. We got another super
Oh.
chat from Mr. Anderson. Yeah. I mean, if Biggie ever got cleared, he should be Gunther. Now that would be so cool.
I mean, I would be okay with that because I love Big E, and the fact that if he would ever be able to get back into the ring, which also I heard that he kind of didn't say that it wasn't a possibility when he was speaking about it recently, when he was kind of saying that he has to make a decision about what kind of life he wants to have, because obviously like going back in could be risky. But he didn't really say that doctors haven't cleared him. He did not say that, which is something that he had been saying. So I'm curious what that means. But I do think that it's a little bit scary to think about him coming back and immediately going after Gunther just because of the style of wrestling he does. Like, I don't think that he would be
tough.
He would hurt him, but he's more of a physical guy than like fighting someone else. But
like an Elton Prince, you know.
I get what you're saying. But yeah. So then we close the show with Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. Drew, can you stop being so good? That's what I have to say. Actually, don't. Great match.
Keeping good.
Yeah, finish was great. Sami went in for a haluva kick, but Drew ducks, which I thought was funny. People were like, "Oh, he just hit him with the low blow," and I was like, "No, he was like ducking. Like it was an accident. It was an accident."
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And then he apparently hit Sami in the groin. And then he is able to. Okay, stop. Wrong show.
Sorry.
Drew hit him.
Wrong promotion.
Yeah, Drew hit him with the Claymore for the win, which I was very excited about, and I felt like that was how the show had to end, given how the show began. And Triple H hasn't been great with that. Every week we're having them start off on a really good high, and then the same person who looked really dominant and scary and whatever at the beginning is now looking like a piece of chicken shit at the end. So I'm glad that Drew was able to win in a controversial way, even if it wasn't on purpose. And the fact that he was able to end the show like on a good note, just the same, like as the bad guy at the end of the show, just like he was at the beginning. And this is why I'm like, I'm trying not to get my hopes up about Drew, but like, man, I don't know.
It looks pretty good when you have the show start with you and end with you, and you're on top on both. That is a good sign heading into Mania season, where the guy who's supposed to face the world champ is injured, the world champ's injured. It's looking pretty likely that Drew's gonna get his moment, and he's gonna get his moment and have it quickly taken. Oh yes, come on,
you're
Sarah.
So mean.
I'm not mean. I'm forward thinking and a businessman. I know how to make cash.
Okay.
And to make cash, you gotta do the cash thing and cash in that money in the bank. Like I don't know.
Okay.
And then you get a few with Drew and Damien. Ow.
No, there's a lot of good that can come out of a Drew McIntyre title run. And that's the thing, is that that's what I've been saying, that he should have been the one to be beating Seth anyway. Even when Punk was in the picture, I was saying wait on it, because Drew has so many better stories that can go.
Oh, so many.
Yeah, because it's like before Punk was injured, he could face Punk, he could face Sami, he could face Jey Uso, he can face Cody if Cody was still there. He could obviously have another series with Seth and Damien. Like, he can go on all of this. And when it comes to Seth, there's nothing there. And with Punk, it's like Drew. Like, if Punk were to become champion, it's like, okay, Drew. That's it. So it makes sense right now. And so I just hope they act upon it. because I would love to be there to see it, you know?
I agree. I want to be there to see a historical moment. I want to see
Another
it.
one, like with Cody on night 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but
Comments.
anyway, do you want to look at any
Oh
comments?
yeah, we have a lot.
Okay. Yes. Bailey should be EO at Mania. I think that's happening anyway. If we see the downfall of Damage Control.
You know something Nia Jax from Australia like Rhea Ripley?
I don't think so.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think she's from Australia.
She's not.
Oh,
She's
yeah. But that might happen. I mean, that might be a match at Elimination Chamber. But I assume that we're going to have a women's Elimination Chamber to determine the number 1 contender to face Rhea at.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So Nia will be in it.
Or
Becky
Nia,
will be in
we get
it.
both.
Maybe. I don't know.
Sarah, who's your favorite wrestler currently, male and female?
Are you expecting me to pick one? Because that's impossible. I can't do that.
That's enough question.
My favorite female wrestlers. That's easier for me. Becky, Rhea, Tiffany Stratton, and Jade. I have to say Jade. I love Jade. Also, I'm
Jade's
obsessed.
incredible.
I don't care that Jade has been in, a match for 10 minutes or less. That's my queen right there. Also love Chelsea.
Chelsea's in my top 5.
Yeah, males. Hello, Cody Rhodes. Finn Balor. Drew McIntyre. Seth
Pick
Rollins.
one.
Imperium. I can't pick just one.
Can't pick. Come on. It's like asking if you want fries or onion rings as your side. That's why Burger King gives you both. You don't have to have just one. All right.
I
Ooh.
can't do it. I'm sorry.
What was your favorite era to watch wrestling?
Attitude.
I go for the nostalgia attitude, but I'm not
Right
kidding.
now.
The early 2000s, like 2002 to 2007, those are some Wild Wild West times.
No.
Let's just say that. Those are some Wild Wild West times. With Tori Wilson and all that nonsense. You have MVP and Matt Hardy playing basketball with each other. You Deuce and Domino. I mean, just ridiculous. And that's the terrible stuff. I didn't even talk about the good stuff. Or what this guy had nope. Well, Mr. Anderson agrees. How good was Chelsea in the Rumble? She was very good. She was very good.
Yes, she was. Hi, Peter. Haven't seen you in a while.
Haven't seen Peter.
Yeah, Chelsea's great.
We're demanding it. All right, it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to ask us to demand that. That's something that we fully are behind. I want to see Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. I don't think it needs to be for a title. I think they should just get in there to see who's the better woman. Tease it at the Rumble already, and Bianca doesn't need another title match. She doesn't need another
Mania
big
moment.
match. Yeah, she doesn't need like a main event Mania moment, title match Mania moment, but she does need to be at WrestleMania. I think we can all agree that she should be at WrestleMania. Why not have it be putting over the new star, so
Oh God. I agree.
Yeah, that's all we got. Thank you guys for tuning in to this edition of the Raw Rewind. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell notification to know when we go live and post. Go check out all those old archive videos in our library. We have different videos up of, the old commentator. We talked about new ones, but what happened to the old guy? We have a video there.
Rumble stuff is still going up too. Like our reactions from the Rumble are still going up.
So go check that out, and then description below. Follow Sara and I on all social media platforms. And tune in tomorrow, actually, 5:30, twitch.tv/Nonsense Sports Network. I'm streaming one of my games, the Militia, my fake Patriots team. Well, we're going to the Super Bowl. All right, we're going to the Super Mega Bowl. That happens in 2 weeks, so we need something to fill the time. I got plenty of teams that want the airtime. Go over to my Instagram at Pitsy35 to vote in the poll on what team you would like to see. Sarah, it's either the Southie Celtics, the Big Bad Bruins. I think there was another team. Oh, the golf. Brad Taylor, my golfer. Or any other team that you think. So go over and at Pitsy35 and vote on that. And then go check out if you're a Patriots fan or if you're just a Sarah Marshall fan. Go to musketfire.com and check out all of Sarah's Patriot stuff. She's getting millions and millions of views over there. So go and support the peeps. That'll do it for us here. We'll see you on Thursday this week. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. See you next episode. Yeah.